Elon Musk is back at it again. He's up here talking about that AI may end all of humanity. Sounds kind of crazy to me. But when you dig a little bit more into it, Elon Musk may not be wrong. So recently, Elon Musk had circled back around and said, like, hey, AI has a risk. Not just a risk of it going wrong and people using it for misuse. No, this has a risk of it completely ending humanity as we know it. That AI will be the end of us, which is a huge deal, right? And so he said that he's actually revising that a little bit upward and saying that it's going to be like around like 10 to 20%, a fifth of the time that AI just may go rogue and end of humanity. But then he was like, you know what? AI may end us, but it's kind of worth the risk. It's worth the trade-off because, yeah, it may end us, but look at all the great side, the upside benefits of all this stuff. It could possibly give us AI-generated art and deep fakes and deep fake Bidens and Obamas. I don't know. I mean, I'm over-exaggerating, of course, but it is still like scary to be like, hey, 20% chance, this all may go belly up. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's a huge risk that's posing to us to be like, hey, this is just totally it for something that we clearly could live without because we didn't have AI before. We had automations and stuff with code and everything, but we didn't have AI. It's something we could live without. So if it's a 20% potentially, then maybe we can live without it. He went into detail about like how he found these numbers and everything, but how do you really find numbers on something that has never existed yet? And we still have little information because we're still in like relatively the early stages of AI. Like if you go back in history, like we've been researching AI for the longest time. One of the bottlenecks were like, hey, we don't have enough compute power to do any of this type of stuff. We don't have enough hardware, RAM, processors, but that's all changing now. Which is good, which is why we're seeing such a huge boom in AI. But what if I said Elon Musk wasn't even the person that's saying that's the worst case scenario? There's some people who are saying as little as 5% that like AI could ruin us, as well as 50%, like 50-50, like a flip of a coin, that AI could just go rogue and that's it. We're out of here. I think it's just like kind of insane how we're playing with this type of stuff. A lot of people are saying like, hey, we should have regulations, we should have controls over this type of thing, and that this shouldn't be going to like people who are corporations and stuff, like people who we already think don't have our best interests. But if it is regulated, some people are saying it's going to be regulated by the government, and we already feel like they don't have our best interests at heart either. So like it's a lose-lose regardless of who you're going to pick and which side. But at this point in time, I think that AI is something that is new and newly accessible to a lot of people. It may have been around for years, it's newly accessible. So I think right now may be a good time to maybe get your hands in on it. Because if you think about like TikTok or YouTube, a lot of people who got in early on these platforms was able to make a lot of money throughout these platforms, or just make a good impression throughout these platforms. As well as anything else, like if you got into accounting early or tech early, it definitely paid dividends, not just something on social media, but just in everything in general. Think about it now. Crypto is probably like 60,000 right now. At least Bitcoin is. You think you wouldn't have got in early when Bitcoin was like a penny? Not even a penny. Like Bitcoin was even a penny. Now I bet you will want to get in. I think if you have the time to invest, like maybe the next 6 months to a year, may be a good time to do this because there will be a lot of regulation. There'll be a lot of like different type of jobs as well as technical skill sets to, be able for you to get your skills up and do different things. Like think about the app boom. When the app boom was here, when before like all the apps that you use on the phone, all the apps you use on your phone were just, social media apps like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They were like Flappy Birds, and like people used to play like a lot more games, had a more variety. When you were in there early, and you could make a lot of money. That's all I'm saying.